Hi everyone, I'm back with my art journal. This is my Delusion art journal, and today I will be working on my mixed media project, which is based on my favorite season, autumn. So I'm starting with this rice paper, which I have obtained from one of my local craft shop. So I don't have a very high trust on this rice paper, but however, I'm going to give it a try. So what I'm doing is, because it's not completely covering the whole page, I have feathered the top and the bottom edges of this rice paper, and now I'm going to glue it down using matte medium. Even though the print was very nice, I found that the printed design on this rice paper was getting a bit foggy as I was applying matte medium. So yeah, I'm not going to buy this rice paper again, but okay. So once it was dry, I wanted to tone it down a little. I want to get the design in the background. So for that, I'm using my trusted primer, which is Gesso. This rice paper have some really good colors, and that gave me the idea for what kind of background color I wanted for my art journal today. So once I'm happy with the application of the gesso, I'll start working on introducing those colors in the page. I'm using twisted citron and cracked pistachio for this application. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding cracked pistachio, and later on I'll be adding twisted citron and cracked pistachio on the edges while the gesso is still wet. So what I'm trying to do is getting a diffuse look for twisted citron and the cracked pistachio color. But I don't know how, but as I was keep applying the color, initially it looked bright, but when it started to dry, it was getting very light, even though I was not adding any more gesso on my brush. So not sure what was happening here. In my mind it worked perfectly. So I built few layers, and yet I was not satisfied with the result of the oxide infused with gesso. So eventually what I'll do is I'll apply them directly using a blender foam on the page. Once I was happy with the edges, I introduced a little bit of twisted citron in the middle of the page. Okay, once everything was dry, I went on to the next layer, which is the stencil layer, and I'm using a modeling paste for that. I am mostly going to keep the stenciling on the outer edges of the art journal. With modeling paste or any kind of dimensional paste, I prefer not to put them in the middle of the art journal because with all the mixed media stuff I'm doing, the art journal is already getting very bulky, so it is healthy for the seam to not put any bulk on it. So now coming to the autumn theme, so I have created these leaves by putting some color onto normal copy paper and stamping them with the pressed foliage stamp and then fussy cutting out. But as you can see, when I try to layer them all, because they were cut from the same paper, I am not able to see the layering so nicely, and I see that the colors which I used initially for creating those leaves don't have the green color, because fall is not just about dry leaves, there it's about falling leaves, and some of the leaves are yellow and green. And so I thought, okay, let me create one more on screen, cutting on screen, and this time I'm not going to do any fussy cut, so I'm just being lazy. So instead of that, I'm going to use the Bixie die tattered leaves from Tim Holtz. So what I'm doing right now is, with the leftover color, I'm just putting the droplets onto tissue paper, and I'll show you why I'm doing that. It's sort of like an instant background. So now to this particular paper, just to introduce a little bit of orange, I am doing the smudge technique, and I made sure that I have not put any water onto the page, and it is dried so that it layers, because as Tim Holtz say, wet on wet blends and wet on dry layers. And I just showed you a tissue paper on which I have added some of the colors or droplets from the leftover smooshing, and you see it can create an instant background if you just try to use it on an art journal. So now I'm happy with this piece of paper, and I'm going to cut it out from the pixie die, and here it is. I did not use much of the leaves because I already have plenty from my initial first try. So what I'm doing right now is, because these are die cuts, they don't have any leafy impression on them, so I'm using the stamps from pressed foliage and trying to figure out which one goes best with these leaves, and I'm going to stamp them on it. So the idea is just to give them the stem impression. I am okay if some places it's not precise. So before applying the leaves, I'm going to add some more texture to the page, this time by introducing some ink dripping effect onto the page. I first tried with the same color, cracked pistachio, but I was not satisfied. Then I introduced tea dye to the party and started doing the droplet effect using tea dye and cracked pistachio. And though it did added some variation, it was not how I wanted it to be. So later on I introduced vintage photo to the page, and that seemed to do what I wanted my page to have. I love it when the dark color runs in the middle of the structure paste or modeling paste. It's really soothing to the eye. I don't know why. At least it's soothing to my eye. Okay, now with the leftover vintage photo color, I'm going to add a lot of splatter on the page, and somehow this big brush was giving very fine and very nice splatter, so I just kept on and on and on and on until I was totally satisfied. And now is the time to assemble everything, so I am going to work on how I want to position everything. And this Tim Holtz cutout doll is my focal image for the page today. I'm happy that I chose the colors inspired from the rice paper, because it makes these fall leaves pop on the page very nicely. And here is how I eventually finalized all the items. And once I'm happy with all the positioning, I'll start gluing everything down. So here what I did was, when I removed everything, those I didn't want to uh, restructure those leaves. So what I did was, I put a masking tape on them from the top, and then when I put the glue behind all the three leaves same time, and once they were nicely stuck down, I removed the masking tape, and then I went on to gluing everything on the page. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and now it's time to add some coat. So I'm doing a mix of stamping and chit chat stickers from Tim Holtz. Just trying to make sure that it's up. So my quote for today is fall in love. And I think it's one of the best season to fall in love with. There are times when you do something and you feel okay, the page is done, and there are times when you keep adding something or the other because you don't feel that you are done with the page. So that's what I'm doing here. Once I outlined the small quotes, I went on with this another food and soke, which is of gray color, and I start giving shadow to the word fall. And then I was like, okay, I have to distress the edges. So I first started with vintage photo, and when I felt that there was not enough drama, I outlined the page again with archivaling jet black. And here's the page for today, and here's the close-up. Loving all the layers created with gesso, with distress oxide, the droplet effect, the stamping, the leaves. Oh, I'm in love with this page. very subtle background, but the way it's maybe making these leaves pop is beautiful. I still felt that I was not finished with this page. Probably later on I might add some black splatters to it or gold splatters to it, I don't know. But yeah, I have to ask myself to not work for any more further on this page. So if you like this page, do give it a thumbs up, share with friends, leave comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.